now over the last basically 2 years. We're writing code, delivering technology and capabilities faster than we've ever done. And we've got tens of thousands of engineers. We have 75,000 people total. And he's like, I don't want any more engineers this year. I'm like, what did you say? I don't want any more engineers this year. I'm like, you've never said that before. He goes, I know, but we are just in the last year 30% more productive, and we're doing great, and we just want to focus and get all this done.
So, think about that.
Our head of engineering.
I'll just share this next one because it's fascinating. Agents are going to be evolving in a fascinating way. So this is an agent civilization. Let me take a moment to share first 30 seconds of this.
Hey, I'm Robert. I'm excited to introduce Project SID, the first ever agent civilization. 1,000 agents collaborating for days, performing any action with emergent government, economy, culture, religion, and more. SID starts in Minecraft, but we are already going beyond.
This is a Minecraft server, but every player here is actually an autonomous AI agent. And they're completely Minecraft agnostic, capable of using other apps and games. Our agents started with nothing and then worked together to collect over 300 items in Minecraft. They set up a market where agents agreed to use gems as a common currency for trading supplies, building an economy. In this case, you might think the merchants would trade the most, but it was actually the priest. Why? He was bribing townsfolk to convert. We run.
So just very cool. We're seeing a huge level of competition. It used to be US versus China. I think it's now OpenAI versus Gemini, Google versus Meta versus Microsoft, and so forth. And it's just, there's a lot coming our way, and agents is a critical part.
Can I ask you, I'd love to explore this agents a little bit more, actually. I didn't think we'd get to it, but it's such a compelling and important topic. So to us, we're kind of looking at the agent and the agentic development in a couple of ways. And I'd love to just hear your thoughts about it for business owners and entrepreneurs, because first of all, a lot of people are just getting their head around ChatGPT and large language models, right? And, we're seeing the exponential growth so fast that we're now already talking about moving into agents and agentic AI. It's a lot for an entrepreneur or business owner. But even to just go one click past that is there's kind of these agents that they're developing, like Operator. And for those that are not familiar with that yet, they can get on ChatGPT and they can essentially have an agent in there. You can ask it to do multi-step decision making. It can go out and it can do several things versus what we call concrete things. Like if you get on, Hey Jen, and you ask it to, let's say, give you a video, right? Now this is like multiple steps that you would normally have to manage. But as we then think, well, what about bigger operations of companies where we've got people that are building in platforms? Like Explain, like Cassidy, like N8N, or take your pick, any of these kind of agentic or make automation where we can be coming out. And so at that level, we see then starting to create almost multiple agents and multi-agent designs, where it seems to be starting to become teams versus a virtual employee. Now you could have a set of teams. Do you feel like that's where it's heading? Like we're just going to keep layering more and more interesting and complex versions of agents until?
So there are two levels of agents that I'm excited about. One is an agent that has a purpose in your company. It's a engineering agent, it is a customer service agent, it's a buying agent, and there'll be various companies that create those agents for you. You can have an agent come in and read all of the emails that your company has generated in the past year, all the Slack messages, and come up to speed on how your company has been operating, and then replicate that. And once you've got a great agent who's working well in customer service or whatever in HR, you can now replicate it 100 times and have 100 of those agentic employees doing the same work. And it becomes absolutely vibrant in that regard, right? You're dividing by zero in one sense. So one agent is the agent, again, that you're employing to fill a particular slot in your company. The other kind of agent is the agent that represents you. So I've built a Peter bot, and you can have, my most precious resource today is time. Same for you. And if I can have an AI system that listens to my phone calls, watches all my emails, reads all my books, and becomes knowledgeable about how I think and what I would do in almost every circumstance. You can build an identic AI, if you would, an agent of yourself that you can unleash to go and do, secondary, tertiary, quaternary items out there. I mean, how would you like to clone yourself 100 times over? Have yourself go to all the fun conferences, the virtual summits that you wish you had gone to, and meet other individuals or their agents and come forward with potential business deals. And like, yep, I want that one.
Doing the networking, doing the assessments, doing the summaries, coming back, and that's great. I love it.
This isn't fantasy. This is derivative of where we are and where we're going. And
so real quick, I think that's really important. So everybody's hearing is this is not like, hey, wouldn't that be great? That this is where we are right now. Yeah. And we're talking maybe just one step ahead, just a little bit more developed, but this is what's going on. So if people are just awakening to even a little bit of the AI or transformational tech world, they need to move fast because it's really going to be moving very quickly.
You need to play. You need to put on your curiosity mindset, right? And be a kid again, and unleash yourself from the way it was, and start to play with it. One of the things I have said in the past, years ago, was every CEO, every business owner needs to bring on what I call a chief AI officer. What is that? It's someone who's whispering in the CEO or the business owner's ear. They're not there to create a large language model. They're there to keep their eye on all of the stuff going on out in the world, and to be bringing forward, try this idea, and then working with your leadership team individually. Let's figure out how we bring AI into our HR. So there's a company like Mercor that my AI fund has invested in, and Mercor is gone from like $0 to $2 billion valuation in 2 years. It's insane level of growth. And they're an HR function. They do hiring. They're, I think, doing all of like the largest hiring agent for Meta. And so they use AIs produced by HeyGen, which is the name I couldn't remember. Joshua is the CEO there. And they'll interview somebody, be a virtual interviewer in their native language. They'll ask them all the questions. They'll get all the information. They'll make hiring recommendations. They'll do training recommendations. And it's basically making your HR function, hyperspeed. Same thing, we're going to see this, Sam Altman this year said, okay, we are now the 50th best programmer on the planet. And by the end of this year, our AI systems will be the #1 programmer on this planet. So if you're building software, you're going to be using these AI agents to basically write your software. And then we have agents writing software for agents, and then exponential is the slowest it'll ever be. Yeah.
All right, so we went deep into tech land because I think you dive there fast and enjoyably. If we step back just a little bit and we look at what are some of the big shifts and changes now that where we've talked kind of tech. What do you think are going to be big shifts and changes for newer entrepreneurs, for startups, and not necessarily AI or tech startups, but people that are coming into any sort of business, whether it's retail or hospitality or agencies or professional services, whatever. Where do we think we might see some of the they have to get their mind around it because it's going to be some real big shifts in how the world is headed for entrepreneurs?
So one of the things I teach is the 6 Ds of exponentials. And let me take a second and describe those. Your job as an entrepreneur, no matter what industry you're in, is to try and digitize all that you can. When you digitize something, make it ones and zeros in some way, shape, or form. Like Uber digitized to some degree the taxi fleets, and Airbnb digitized to some degree, right, hotels. When you digitize something, it enters a period of slow, deceptive growth. Like the first digital camera took 0.01 megapixels, and then the next year took 0.02, 0.04, 0.08. It was doubling, but it all looked like zero. 30 doublings later, you go from deceptive growth to disruptive growth. And these digitizations, they dematerialize, right? So on my cell phone, I've got, tens of millions of dollars of capability that I would have had to have paid 30 years ago. Two-way video conferencing, video cameras, still cameras, radio, music, book collections. I mean, all this stuff has become ones and zeros, and it's dematerialized all of these things into my phone. And then when you dematerialize, you demonetize. The cost of replicating something digital is effectively zero. So it's demonetized, and your ability to get it to the outreaches of Africa, you democratize it, right? There are 7 billion smartphones on the planet today. And so your market is no longer Poughkeepsie or New Jersey or the US or the Americas, it's the globe. And so I think people need to begin to look at what's the scope and size of my company? How do I digitize this product? Because if you're not digitizing your product, someone else is. And you'll lose that race very quickly.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so let me ask you just, one more question for those that are looking to embrace. You talk a lot about mindset, right? And the abundance mindset. And for those that might be feeling nervous, or it's a new thing, we've talked before about how new can feel challenging or difficult for people because it can be a bit scary and things. What do you think is the best way for the everyday average professional, manager, leader, entrepreneur, doesn't matter, just the everyday person to embrace what's going on and how they can start to think about it?
Yeah, I think there are 2 or 3 important mindsets here. The first is a curiosity mindset. It's a beginner's mind. It's a childlike. It's not fearing it, but being willing to dive in. And here you have a massive advantage today than you ever had. In the past, you'd have to go and hopefully find the world's expert, and go to a program and learn it. Clearly you're here listening to this program, and that's your first step. But you have the ability to have the world's most patient teachers as well, which are the AIs themselves. If you open up Claude 3.5 or Gemini 2 or ChatGPT and start to have a conversation, it's incredible how you can go down rabbit holes and you can say, I don't understand what you just said. Can you make it easier? And these AI, generative AI large language models are infinitely patient, and they'll step back and they'll explain it over and over again as many times as you need. My favorite phrase is explain to me like I'm 5, and it will just back it way up and give it to you. So curiosity mindset and willingness to just take the time to have those conversations. An abundance mindset is the notion that technology takes whatever used to be scarce and makes it abundant over and over again. We're heading towards a world of near infinite abundance across everything, or access to food, water, energy, healthcare, education. And then finally, a moonshot mindset, your ability to do extraordinary things, which were only possible by the largest companies and governments, are now more possible than ever before, because these technologies are becoming available and democratized. Isn't it fascinating? The most powerful technology on the planet, generative AI, is effectively available for free. If you'd gone back 20 years and said, describe, ChatGPT to somebody and say, how much would you charge per month for that capability? The last thing I would have imagined would have been free.
Totally.
Crazy.
Wonderful. Awesome. I appreciate all your insights. So many great golden nuggets there. We really appreciate your time, Peter, and your insights into all this. So thank you so much. And we look forward to having you at the events and hearing even your deeper speeches and presentations, as you have so much to share in so many different dimensions. So
forward to it, Kane. Thank
you again.
Awesome. All right. So as you know, or may know, Peter did actually speak on Friday at the event, and it was an incredible presentation. But that gave us some other insights and things to consider on this crazy journey of this massively accelerated development of things going forward. Marcy, love listening to Peter. Like, I must admit, it gives me a little bit of anxiety because there's a lot going on. But I think the excitement for me, being an entrepreneur, the excitement outweighs the anxiety a long shot.
Yeah. So I think it's perfectly natural at this point to feel a little bit of that like anxiety of what's going to happen.